Hey guys, welcome to my first ever YouTube video. My name's Ashley and this is my August TBR featuring Pickpongathon. Now for those of you who don't know what Pickpongathon is, it is a monthly read-along being hosted by Krystal over at Bond Book Reviews, and it is based on her TBR game Pickpong. I'll leave an announcement down to her announcement and video down below so you guys can go check it out. But for now, let's get into the TBR. Okay guys, so the way this TBR is going to work is that I am going to pick my prompts off a bingo board that I'll link down in the description box down below. So there are a total of 5 set prompts and another 4 prompts that you can fulfill on your own. I'll leave the link to Krystal's announcement video of those down below as well. But for now, let's see what books I'll be reading. Okay guys, so the first pick is a blind pick. Now, unfortunately, I don't have anyone to help me do that. So what we are going to do instead is use a random number generator on my phone and use my little TBR card to pick my book. And it is The Spider Goddess by Tara Moss. Hey guys, so my blind pick was The Spider Goddess by Tara Moss. Now, unfortunately, I haven't started that series, so I will be starting the first book, which is The Blood Countess. Now, this is a YA fantasy centered around a girl called Pandora English who moves to New York after the death of her mum and lives with her grandmother now. And she is assigned to a fashion magazine because her dream is to become a writer. And her first assignment is to investigate this new serum they call Blood of Youth, which turns out to have quite more deadly consequences than she expected, and it is worth killing for. So I'm really excited to read this. I haven't read any of Tara Moss's books before, but I'm really into YA fantasy. As you can probably see, some of my shelves are quite YA based. But yeah, quite interested to see where this goes. Okay, so pick number 2 is a poll pick. Now, I asked you guys on Twitter to pick a book out of the 4 I recommended, and the winner of that one was City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the first book in the Durabad trilogy. I hope I said that right. And it follows a young girl who is a con artist and is essentially trying to make money to move away, and I think this revolves quite around jinns and secret societies. I'm not too sure about the plot. The synopsis doesn't really give too much away, but I've seen this all over Twitter, Instagram, and I know a lot of people who absolutely love this book, and yeah, I'm quite interested to see what that one's about. Okay guys, so prompt number 3 is a big book, and for this one I've gone with a quite popular favourite, which is The Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Now, this is the 3rd book in the Blood and Ash series, and it follows a young girl called Poppy who is the maiden. Now, she is essentially kept under guard. She can't be looked upon, touched, anything like that until her ascension. Now, she doesn't really know what the ascension entails as such, and one day she is assigned to a guy called Hawk who essentially becomes her protector. Now, this series is kind of been middle for me. I've rated the last 2 books 3.5 stars. My biggest issue with this series is it seems to drag quite a bit, especially in the middle of the book, and then picks up quite later. I have heard quite mixed reviews with this. Some people really loved it where others did not like it at all. So I'm quite nervous to see what my thoughts are on this, especially since, like I said, the last 2 have been quite hit or miss for me, but we will see how I go with that one. Okay, so prompt number 4 is a partner friend pick. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a partner, so I messaged my bestie Erica in Melbourne and said, hey girl, what have you been reading, and give me some recommendations. And the only recommendation she could really give me was Free the Bears. Now, this, I understand, is an autobiography about a Perth grandmother who is a massive campaigner for the black bears. As we know, those poor creatures are really, really poorly treated in cages, and just, they're essentially slaves, the poor things. So this is about her and her quest to save the black bears. I'm really quite interested to see how this goes. Generally, I don't tend to gravitate towards true stories unless they really interest me. Generally, this is not a book I would pick up in passing. It's not something I'd go out of my way to read, but yeah, I'm still quite interested to see what this is about and her story. Okay guys, so the next book is going to be a double up for me on prompts, because this is a book that I anticipate will be both a 5-star prediction and is a newest published book, and that is Gods and Monsters by Shelby Mahern. So this is the final book in the Serpent and Dove trilogy. I really loved this series. I gave the last book 5 stars, and the reactions I've been seeing online to the end of this book, I have seen people shed tears over this, so I am actually very quite nervous about how this is going to end, but I know Shelby Mahern is going to kick this out of the park. Now, the Serpent and Dove trilogy follows a young girl called Lou, who is a witch, and she is basically on the run with her best friend Coco, and one day she comes across Reed, who is a witch hunter, and they are essentially forced to marry. So this is a YA fantasy book. Like I said, I really love this series, and I just know it's going to be a 5-star prediction, and it's probably going to break my heart as well. Okay guys, so for the next prompt, it is YA fantasy, and for that one I will be reading Wind Witch by Susan Dennard. This is the 4th book in the Witchland series, and I've been reading this as part of a read-along hosted by Jade over at JD Ray Reads. I'll leave a link to her channel and announcement down below for that if you want to take part in that. I have currently started reading this, really enjoying it so far, and I am hoping to get this finished in the first week. Okay guys, so the next prompt is a friend's wish list. So this is a prompt where you can go onto a friend's wish list and look at the books that they have on there and pick your next book. So for that one, I've looked at the lovely Ashley from My Little Library Life. I hope I get that right. And on her wish list is a book that I recently acquired, and that is Threadneedle by Carrie Thomas. So this is her debut novel. This is about a girl who lives in London, and I'm pretty sure it's about a world where there's a magic system, but it's actually quite frowned upon by certain people, especially her grandmother. I don't know too much else other than that, but I've heard a lot of good things about this, and how pretty is this cover? So yeah, I'm really hoping that I enjoy it. Okay, and the final prompt is worst. Now, this prompt is one where you essentially go through somebody's worst list. So it could be an Instagrammer, a booktuber, whoever has a worst list. Quite a few booktubers do this, you know, the worst books of 2020, 2021, etc. So for this one, I went on to Maddie from Book Browsing Blog's worst of 2020 list, and she had a book that is on my to be read list, and that is Addie LaRue by Victoria Schwab. Now, this is the first ever V.E. Schwab book I will be reading. I've heard quite mixed reviews about this book as well. Either you really love it or you hate it. So this follows a girl called Addie who essentially makes a deal to live forever. However, the disadvantage to that is that nobody she meets will remember her until one day she comes across a guy who actually does. So I'm quite looking forward to reading this. This is quite a chunky book, but yeah, I really hope I love it because the premise just sounds so interesting. Okay guys, so that is my TBR for the month of April. Hope you really enjoyed this video for my first booktube one. If you did, please give it the thumbs up and feel free to subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye!